Here we go. Hey, Del Jackson, press break. NFL edition again. You know, we're sitting here and the NFL games are on, but Coach Berryman from LS has given us some time. So we're going to get him on and off. And then we're going to talk about the week that was and good things that are happening around the LL. So we'll start with Coach Berryman. How you doing, Coach?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Oh, it's Sunday. We're talking hoops. It can't be all bad. How about you?
That's right.
Andy? How about you, Andy? How's it going?
I'm hanging in there. Another week in the books. Thankful that we finally had an off night that I could finally catch up on some sleep. So that was nice. But no, you're right. It's all good, and another week is upon us.
Did Nebraska play this week?
No, we're dealing with COVID issues right now. We haven't played in a week. Today, Coach Hoiberg has COVID. Our next two games are canceled, so we're not going to play until, oh God, maybe the next Sunday out. I have no idea. The schedule's all messed up. We've missed our last now 4 games, so I'm all LL hoops for right now. I got nothing else going on.
Nice. Well, I like that. You know, I mean, I can't say the pay's great, but I like the input from you. So let's start with Coach Berryman. Coach, this is the first time we've had you on the Zoom. We really appreciate you coming on here.
Sure.
You know, it's hard to even talk about your resume. I mean, every year you're LL Hoops Coach of the Year, and every year you seem to get into playoffs, and you have a vice grip on that Section 3, and I'm sure that you want to continue that. So you're off to a 3-0 start.
Yep.
Let's talk about a couple of your games, your players, how you guys have dealt with the COVID thing. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, well, this week we started with Mannheim Central on Wednesday, and it was just a really good basketball game between two good teams. Of course, I mean, they're well coached. Coach Fisher does a great job. It was back and forth. There wasn't a whole lot of separation during the game, maybe 7 points on one side, 5 on the other. Came down to the end, and we were able to win it by 3 points. So it's always a good win when you can go up to Mannheim Central. That's a big win for us in the section. Then Friday we went on to Solanco came to play us, and Solanco they're talented. I mean, they shot the ball well. They play incredibly hard. I think Dave Long's doing a great job with that team. It was nip and tuck for most of the first half. We got a little separation, and then they had, towards the fourth quarter, I think we held them to 5 points. So defense stepped up, and it was another good section win for us.
Nice. I'm gonna ask Andy to chime in there because he saw the Solanco game, and a lot of times Andy and I will talk on the telephone on the way back from our games, and he was impressed with some of the things that Solanco was doing. So I'll turn it over to you, Andy. Talk to Coach about the games or what you're seeing or any questions you might have.
Yeah, no, I mean, as far as Friday went, it's going to sound weird. If we were asking me for teams that really impressed me, I would say Solanco, as weird as that sounds, because I know they lost, but they might end up finishing at the bottom of Section 3. I mean, no one really knows, but it's not going to be because they're an automatic layup for everybody else. I mean, I think Coach will speak to that fact. I mean, the fact that LS won by, I think you guys won by 16. I mean, that was an extremely misleading score. I mean, if anyone's just looking at it, because they pretty well took the fight to you guys early on, and then I think they just ran out of gas. But yeah, I mean, Solanco did a lot of good things. They kind of do like a Cedar Crest type thing, an Elko type thing, where they're spreading guys out and penetrating and pitching. So I think they found a nice system to use.
Yep.
And they have a good of seniors, and then they're also really young when I looked at their roster too. I mean, yes, Zed, Coach, I know I was saying Zed's back for his 17th year and everything like that, but they got a lot of other kids there too. So they're going to be a handful, not only this year, but moving forward down the line. So, I mean, it was what I liked was you guys were able to weather the storm, take their counter punches because they brought their A game with them. And then, I mean, you guys just essentially got them on their fuel tank later on, and were able to kind of coast home. But no, I mean, it was a really good game and a lot better game than I thought I was walking into on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, we played them last year. They were young. You can tell they were coming as a team. I know Ryan Smith didn't play the first couple games, and he was limited in our game. I mean, just getting back. When he's 100% and ready to, and they're playing and he's in shape, they're going to be tough. They're going to knock some teams off this year. and there's no doubt in my mind. So, we were able to, hang with them, take their punches, like you said, and then we changed up our defense a little bit in the late third quarter. I think they went about 14 straight possessions where we held them without a basket, and that sort of gave us the separation we needed to win the game.
Let me ask Coach a coaching question here, Andy. I haven't seen him. You've seen him this year, but I know Coach and I talked a little bit before we got on, and we talked about height. And I know his team's not as big as they have been in the past. So in the past, we see some 3-pointers, and then the big guys kind of clean up or they kick it back out. So, Coach, my coaching question tonight is: have you adjusted to less size, or do you just kind of run what you run and let's more of a system guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the past we've always pretty much been a motion offense team, whether it's dribble drive or passing and cutting. When Ryan Smith was there, of course, we adjusted to make sure that we were getting that ball inside to him. So we've always seemed to have guys that can handle the ball and shoot the ball. So that has been one of our strengths over the years, and we continue with that type of process with our junior high program. And if we can get the taller boys in there in the future, and we'll readjust and look more of an inside game. But I mean, Nick Del Grande gives us some size inside. I mean, he is a football player. Just got a scholarship offer to West Point, to play football. So that's pretty impressive. And he brings a lot. He's a great communicator, and he does bring a lot inside. And actually, in that Manheim Central game, we started going inside a little bit at the beginning of the third quarter to him and Sean. And that sort of gave us a little bit of separation, a little breathing room. Of course, Central brought it right back.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about the players on your team this year, some of their roles, and what you're looking for out of some of these guys.
Well, sure. As I said, we have Mark captains are Nick Del Grande and Sean McTaggart, as voted by their teammates. Nick brings us our size inside. He's a big guy, about 6'4". I'm not sure, 245, somewhere in that range. Moves pretty well for his size. Sean is just a leader. Sean's a winner, and he'll do things that we need in the game. He'll communicate well with the other players. Bring along his strengths as a leader, and keep everybody calm and maybe in some tight situations. From a guard standpoint, we've got some youth. Our starting point guard, Ty Burton, we've talked about a little bit. Played at IMG last year. Ty's just a very heady, strong player. Penetrates incredibly well, gets to the rim, can knock down the three, and he can do it from distance also. And you talk about his offense, but he gives 100% all the time on the floor, whether it's offense or defense, but he's very skilled on the offensive end. We have a junior, Isaiah Peridot, had a nice game against Manheim Central, put in 14 points. He's a lefty. He's worked very hard in the offseason, shoots the ball well. So he really has earned his opportunity to start and get a lot of playing time. In fact, he's probably about 5'11", but he's leading us in rebounding. Ooh. Okay, he really goes after the ball. We have a sophomore starting also named Ben Wirt. Ben's worked extremely hard in the offseason also. Right now, he's sort of learning the ropes. He didn't play JV last year. He played on our freshman team, but really grew a lot during the year, I guess physically and in basketball sense. And he brings a lot to the table, maybe a little bit reserved at this time, but he's going to be a really good player for us. Luka Vranek comes off the bench. He's about a 6'1", 6'2" guard. He's very long, handles the ball well, has great court vision. Luka's one of those guys who'd rather make the great pass than score. And he sees the floor well. Berkeley Wagner also comes off and gives us a lot of energy. He had some big plays in the Manheim Central game, hit a couple big threes. And he's also the kid that you see the other team breaking away, going down for a layup, and Berkeley's the one who always is running them down. So he gives 100% all the time. And then with regards to, we've got other guys. Bo Heiser comes off the bench. He's an athlete. So we have a good group of kids. Ian Herr played wide receiver for the football team. Dan Helms is a senior. He brings us some stability. So we've got a good solid core. And then, Brady Cole comes in, and he's just, I think Andy got to see him play. He plays hard. He brings a lot of energy to the floor. Maybe not real big, but he'll get rebounds for us. And he made a big 3-point basket for us in that game. So And one of the things I said after that game is, I've got depth. I've got kids that, can get out there and make plays. So it doesn't matter if it's number 1 or number 11, they can all get out there with confidence and make plays. So pretty excited about that with the group as a whole.
That's nice. Hey, Andy, I want to say one thing, and then you can ask the coach a question and we'll get him out of here. But I consider a really good man cave, but I ain't got nothing like Coach Berryman has behind him. I mean, nothing. And that's what it's all about. That's just awesome, Coach. I mean, you don't need a virtual background. I have to have a virtual background, It's like you don't need a virtual background. So, hey, congratulations on all that you've done. Good luck the rest of the year. We're going to hit Andy up for one more question, and then we'll let you go watch a football game.
All right. Appreciate it, Del. Thank you.
Yeah. Coach, I wanted to ask you about Ty specifically. I was thinking about this on the drive home on Friday night, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. Do you almost feel for him it's kind of playing with house money this year in the sense that all he really has to do is figure out how the varsity level high school basketball works, like the speed, the intensity, the prep, and everything like that. And he doesn't have to worry about any of the excess stuff this year. To use your opponent on Friday night, he doesn't have to worry about going down in the black hole this year and worrying about the student section trying to get in his head and mess with him for 32 minutes and a packed gym where it's tight and he's the center of attention and everything like that.
Sure.
Yes, that's coming at some point. But for this year, all he really has to do is figure out how to, again, play basketball and figure out how varsity level type competition works. Is there any truth to that in your opinion?
I think maybe some truth to it. I think, quite honestly, he's a pretty mature basketball player for his age. I guess we haven't really seen, like you said, playing in front of a packed house and how he reacts to that. And that might not be this year that we see that.
Right.
But I still see him, he's so focused on the floor. I don't know that I'd really see the periphery affecting him in a negative way, to be honest with you.
Last thing, I want to get one more in if I can. You're at the top of this. You're at the top of the standings. A long way to go. I understand that. But if I were to come back to you in a few weeks down the road here, and you guys win another championship, if I would say, Coach, congratulations on another one. You were able to win it this year. Why? You would tell me what? If everything clicked, you were able to win a section championship because of why?
I'd say because of our depth in a lot of ways. Like I said, I was just saying, we've got a lot of kids that can play. Then we've also got, the guys that can put the ball in the basket, the Ty Burtons, the Isaiah Parados, good players coming off the bench. Luka Vranek, again, being a team player. He's tough to defend. And, just from a team effort, I think we've had a good start. Everyone's starting to come together as a group. And, I don't know that it'll be one reason. I think it'll be multiple reasons.
Sure.
But Tyler Burton definitely brings us an advantage in his skill level.
Nice.
Hey,
thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Good luck this week. We're going to see you Thursday. We're live streaming from Calico. Should be a good one. So
that'll be a very tough game.
We're giving masks away for players of the game. So maybe we'll have a couple masks for you. All right,
that would be nice. That would be good.
All right, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
All right, Andy. Let's talk about the week that was a little bit. What do you think?
It's funny. We've now reached the stretch of the season where everything's kind of bleeding together. I was at a game last night and I was thinking, I think this is my 5th night out, and I was somewhere on Monday night, but I have no idea where I was. And then I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, we did the live stream at Penn Manor on Monday night. So yeah, we've reached the point of the season where everything is just kind of jumbled together and nights are running together and everything like that. Another good week. Saw Catholic on Wednesday night up at Northern Lebanon. I figured that would be a little squirrely. It kind of sort of was for a little bit, but Catholic by and large controlled that game. Again, it did get tight later on, but you saw Catholic, what was it? I guess 2 nights ago now. So I'm sure you have your thoughts on them. I like them a lot. I think we're both in agreement. They're not necessarily the same team that they were last year. And, maybe they won't end up going to a district final perhaps, but for me, they're still the team to beat in Section 4. Now, again, what that means come districts, I don't really know because I'm so in the LL bubble. I have no idea of what's going on outside, but I still think they're going to be a good team. I just talked on Solanco. That was probably the team that impressed me the most. Again, I don't know where they're going to finish in Section 3, but even if they finish near the bottom, it's not going to be because they're totally devoid of talent or anything like that. It's just going to be how the cookie crumbles for them. I told a coach this weekend, I was texting with them, Solanka's on their schedule later on. They have yet to play them. And I was honest. I said, listen, if you guys sleepwalk against Solanka, you're going to lose. Like, that's just a fact. That's not a threat. That's a promise. I mean, they're really that good. I know they lost yesterday by double digits, I think it was, to Weiser, but that still doesn't really throw me off of anything like that. Thursday, where was I? I was at Donegal. Donegal's making some improvements. I was really impressed with them in the sense that it's a little different for them, where they were down big in that game to Big Spring, and normally in years past, if they would get down that big, the opposing team would kind of build upon their already large lead. But I mean, Donegal came back, and I forget where exactly they had it within. I want to say it was like 5 and late in the second half, but then they just kind of went cold at the wrong time, had some untimely turnovers, and Big Spring was able to win. So, I mean, that was another good game. They impressed me from what I thought I was, going to see out of them. And then last night, Township in overtime, it was kind of ugly, but that's probably the way a lot of games are going to be this year. But to their credit, I was joking with Coach Johns after the game. I said, Coach, when's the last time you won a game playing 3 quarters? Because for the first quarter, they only had 1 field goal. They couldn't put the rock in the ocean, and they still ended up winning. So goes to show that, you can still win with your off-speed pitches, like I said in the LS write-up, and still be okay. So a lot of other weird scores around the league that some that come to mind. The E-Town win over CV, that was rather large. I don't know if we really saw that coming. You saw Crest beat Hempfield. So it's kind of my thoughts, and I'll kind of bounce off of yours.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw 2 Section 1 games this week, and I don't know. It looks like it's going to be kind of a battle every night. So whatever team, Coach Goodling and I talked a little bit this week, and he's like, whatever team shows up. So that's interesting. It seems like Warwick's hanging in there. We talked about McCracken last week. He's not with them anymore. So we can talk about the kids going forward. And to kind of go to your point a little bit, Andy, about teams getting better or surprising, CV jumped out. They lost a close game, won a couple, lost one. And then I'm thinking a little bit about Ephrata, and they have a new coach this year, and not that they've won yet, but they battled Warwick to 3 points, so I think sometimes it takes time to build teams and get to know the kids. And sometimes guys just do a great job stepping in. So I'm kind of excited to see that as it progresses. Section 2, we got Warwick, we got Lebanon. Lebanon lost this weekend to Lower Dolphin, but Lower Dolphin's a pretty good team. We're gonna have Warwick and Lebanon Friday night on a live stream. Hopefully, I mean, we're gonna talk about live stream here in a minute, but it's a lot of it's fingers crossed. But we got some good games. LS is LS. We talked about that in the beginning of the year, and they seem to not necessarily miss a beat. They might not be quite as physical, height wise, as they were in the past, but they keep winning, and that's what some of the coaches told us this summer. The coaches are like, until somebody starts beating those guys, they're the top of the mountain. And Section 5, who knows? We don't know anything about Section 5 because they're not playing. We've had one game here, one game there. We got 2 teams that haven't even played yet, so we're looking forward to that. I think is it Country Day, and who's the other team that hasn't played yet? Pequot Valley. Those 2 teams haven't played, so we can't talk about the teams that haven't played. And Section 4, I saw Catholic just destroy Octorara this week. They just sliced and diced them. They shot the ball well. They did some nice things. Now Octorara's got some height, but it's young. They got a senior guard. I think the guy's name is Wallace. He's really a nice player. So we have them on a live stream later on, and it'll be interesting to see as they improve throughout the year. They have the biggest team as far as height. goes in the LL. There's no doubt about that. So that's about what I have. Let's talk any outstanding players. Or I know our friend John Walk. He posts the guys that have the leading scores, and that's pretty good. But sometimes there's some kids that stand out that maybe not get the press, that are good rebounders or just tough guys. And I'm going to point out. I'll just get started. I'll just say Ryan Atkinson from Mennonite or from Catholic.
Devin.
He's amazing. I mean, he goes after every rebound. I don't think he makes a mistake on the offensive end. I saw him this weekend. He grabbed a rebound and then he whipped it full court for a layup. I mean, that's his mindset. So I think he's the glue to that team personally. That's just my thinking. And we know in the past that he can come up with some big offensive games. So, I think they're melding a little bit. So I'll turn it over to you. Any outstanding things that you saw this week or players? I know you want to talk about the guard from Elko a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to steal your answer. I'm going to say Devin Atkinson as well. I said this before. To me, he's the league MVP. And for me, and some other people, you can have a discussion between MVP and most talented and everything like that. But for me, MVP is, to your point, I think if you take him off of that team, I'm not saying Catholic is totally lost at sea without him, but yeah, I mean, he makes such a huge difference. I mean, in the game against Northern Lebanon, there was a couple of times where he just bullied his way to the basket. And I mean, we said before how small Northern Lebanon's backcourt is, but I mean, he took them to task on a lot of those. And, Conway had a lot of big buckets for them too. The thing I liked that Coach Clays did is, I was telling you this, he put Conway on Peyton Wolf for most of the game. So, Peyton's only 5'6", so all game long he's looking up at like 6'4" with a hand in his face. So he didn't really get loose, with the exception of late when he was, kind of pulling up from half court darn near and making those. So yeah, I mean, Catholic has a ton of pieces, and you're right. I like Atkinson a whole lot. He is the straw that stirs their drink. Solanko, Zed Baker, he's another good player, and Solanko's young too. I mean, like I said before, they have a nice mix, I think, of senior leadership who's been there before, and then also some of these new guys that are trying to figure out their roles and how they fit. If we're talking most outstanding players, Ty Burden. I mean, we're gonna get to know his name an awful lot here in the next couple of years. I mean, he's so shifty. He's tiny, but he can finish in traffic. He can dish, like Coach Berryman said. I don't know what team's game plan, what their defensive game plan is going to be on him, whether you have a hand in his face all night or you just chase him. But he's going to shoot that thing from anywhere he has any semblance of daylight. So he's fun to watch. Those are some of the guys that came to mind with what I saw this week. I'm sure there's more, but I did want to ask you, I kind of want to segue off of a different thing. I wanted to go back to Section 1 real quick, because you and I have a kind of a weird viewing of Section 1 this year. We've both seen Hempfield twice. They're 2-0 for me. They're 1-1 for you. You've seen Crest. I haven't. I've seen Township. You haven't. And we haven't seen McCaskey. So with all that being said, when what I know and what I think you know as well, I still think it's Township and Hempfield, and I know we're going to have them on the stream this Wednesday. And I know I said Township is my preseason favorite, and they're right there, but I might want to slide Hempfield up a smidgen, but it's so tight. That's going to be a really good game on Wednesday night, and I think it's going to be a really good series between those two, not just on Wednesday night, but later on down the year. I don't know what you think of Section 1. I know they got a lot of the headlines, but it's just, I was thinking about this today. It's weird who you've seen, who you haven't seen, who I've seen that you haven't seen, and just how that all works. So what do you think?
Well, I've coached in Section 1, and it's a bear whether one team's like 14-0 and the other team's 5-11. It is what it is. It's just kind of it's a physical type of game. It's more physical than a 4 or 5. It just is. And the referees,
Right.
I like the referees, but they call a different game. I saw Columbia one night, and then I'm seeing Hempfield and Crescent next, and it's just a different fight. You know, the one thing that we didn't talk about is McCaskey, and they haven't had a lot of practice time. So, you know, they had a big win versus Township on Township's floor. Although, you know, like you and me, I think we throw the home courts out this year. It's like playing at the Nook. It's like playing a game down at the. There is some atmosphere, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same. So, you know, I think the home court advantage isn't quite the home court advantage, but you know, you're playing at home, so that's kind of nice. But I really need to see McCaskey, and I can't see him this week because we got live stream all over the place. But I will get to see them, and you know, they'll have the opportunity. I think they're playing. I don't even have the schedule in front of me right now. I should, but you know, obviously they'll play a couple games now. Going back to what you were talking about with players, I mean, this week I saw another guy that's kind of a glue guy, but yet he's a high scorer. Is Cole Fisher from Mennonite. I mean, he does some nice things. The Camden Hurst kid, he's quick. He's surprisingly quick. He can get to the rack, but I think for that team, a lot of it is what Fisher brings to the table, and they're not very big either. So you know, that's one of those things that I wanted to bring up a little bit. So let's talk about this. It's middle of January, and usually by now teams are halfway through. They're starting to look at district points and things like that. And right now we're a week in. So how do you think that's changing the coaches' outlooks and the kids' outlooks? Like, you know, you get one win, but it's not like you're 9-1. You're 1-1 or 2-1 or 3-1, and you know, nobody's going to run the table this year. I don't believe in our league. I don't think it's going to happen.
I've talked to a couple people about this on the record, off the record, just in it, you know, private conversations. And I think the one thing that is pretty well unanimous across everyone that I've talked to is you just have to accept that there's going to be no real flow to this year for a lot of different reasons. You might have, you know, your schedule that you have for the week coming up might be totally blown to smithereens. You have no idea. You might be playing games that aren't on your schedule that are coming up this week that you might add at the last minute. Perfect example. I saw, who was it? Hershey and Crest added a game on Friday for Saturday. So that came out of nowhere. But just the fact that there's been no real, and Coach Johns talked about this last night, and you can read about it in the story, shameless plug, that
we're all about plugs here, but go ahead.
The fact that no one has any sort of continuous flow at all. I mean, you started basically when you thought you were, but that got you nowhere in terms of playing games. Then you come back for, well, with the exception of two teams, Northern Lebanon and Lebanon, who got in before Christmas, but everybody else didn't. Then you come back after your 3-week shutdown for 4 practices, and now you're playing again. So I think a lot of it is these are maybe not necessarily now moving forward, but the first couple games, it's just a really officially, or just a really, really official glorified scrimmage that counts because no one really knows, you know, what all they have and everything like that. So yeah, I think a lot of it is there's just an idea that you basically have to take every game in a vacuum this year. You can't really look at the fact that, okay, we beat team X on our home floor, and then that means with this week's schedule coming up, we kind of have this game to play with. This game's going to be really hard. Like, you just have no idea because you don't know what you're going to get on a consistent basis, really through no one's fault of their own. It's just it's weird. It's going to be different. We know that. The other thing I did want to make mention of, you were talking about atmosphere and lack thereof. There was a small semblance of a student section last night at Township.
Oh, okay.
It was a very small semblance. There was probably about 8 kids maybe, so it wasn't the full dog pound, but they were there. They were politely rowdy, doing their thing. So I mean, that was refreshing to again, see some semblance of a student section, but I think that's going to be in the very, very slim minority of schools that are going to allow that, and how that's going to shake out for everybody else moving forward. But yeah, the biggest thing I think with being in the fourth week of January, and with us being so far behind the 8 ball in terms of schedules, everything's just going to have to be in a vacuum. You're just going to take one game at a time, and that's that old cliche. But really, that's all you can really do, because you have no idea who you're playing. You really don't know who you're playing next and when, because you don't. And the other thing is too, with these section schedules, that for those of us that know why they did it, I think they did it wisely, where they just want to load up on your section, and if we get to the crossovers at the back end, and that's just icing. That's gravy if we can get. Not really expecting to get to that point, but if we can, great. But let's worry about the nuts and bolts of everything we have to figure out first in terms of interdivision play, and then we'll get to the excess stuff at the end of it. So yeah, I mean, it's just, you understand you're in a different place on the calendar than where you're normally at. That's just a fact of life this year.
Absolutely. I mean, every Sunday I look ahead and I try to post the games that that are scheduled to play that week. And of course, this year it's going to change a little bit, but I thought about it. It's like, okay, well, if the game changes from Tuesday to Wednesday, fans can't get in, the high school kids can't get in. So it's, and the communications amongst the coaches and their players and their parents is good. So really, I like to look at it, but it really is not affecting a lot of people's schedule. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, I got to work here. I want to go see McCaskey this night. I want to go to see Township that night, or I want to see, Columbia play this night. And it's just not happening. Now, that being said, what's happening on our site is we're getting a lot more traffic than what we normally get. For example, the team pages that I put up, a lot of those are averaging 1,000 hits. And I know from past, at this point of the season, it would be 300 hits. Now, I have to look back. I'll do that this week. I'll have to look back and get some heights in, but I think we have all the kids' names up at this point, some JV varsity, and I'll post up whatever the coaches give us. So that's a little different too. I mean, this week we have 5 games. There's 5 nights that we could be out. I know I'm going to try to be out 4 nights. I mean, we have three games that we're going to try to live stream here. So let's talk about the live stream a little bit. So this week we got Township at Hempfield on Wednesday, LS at Calico on Thursday, and then we got Lebanon at Warwick on Friday. Now, how in the world do we pick such good games? Like, they're all big time games. They're all teams that are at the top of their sections.
I mean, I'd like to think we know what we're talking about sometimes.
Well, I think that's part of it. And I think part of it is the ADs and the schools giving us permission to get into their gyms. I mean, that's a big part of it. You and I both know in the beginning of the year, we had to schedule, we had to look, we had to see who would allow us in. And then all of a sudden this thing mushroomed to, we were going to do 6 games. I think now we're up to 12 scheduled. Now,
right.
Will we get 12 in? I don't know. I hope so. Now, on our live stream, we got new equipment, new people behind the scenes, and the same announcers. So I think, and I've been looking around, I don't know about you, Andy, maybe you can speak to this, but I've been checking some of the live streams out because I want to see, let's say I want to see McCaskey, I want to see them play a little bit, or I want to see Lebanon, or I want to see CV. And I can check out some of these live streams, and then the coaches send out some huddle highlights. But, the thing I think, and I might be wrong, the thing with our live stream, if we get it going good, is we have a couple of different angles, camera angles, and we have the announcers. And I think that makes for a better game. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. I've talked to some people too that they think, outside of a full-fledged, production with the truck outside and everything like that, it's the best thing that money can buy. I mean, it really is, because the thing, to your point, I understand why these schools are doing it, and good on them for doing it, for putting the live streams up, on their own. But it's just, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they're doing what they have to do, but there is no extra flair because in some ways they're handicapped in that regard. They don't have, I mean, short of getting like the broadcasting class together to possibly, do something for credit or anything like that. It's literally just, it's coach's film is what it is. It's just the eye in the sky following the ball. And some schools have a PA announcer who announces buckets, so you'll be able to hear that. Some schools don't do that at all. So you're literally watching the action as it would happen.
A couple of the schools had the scoreboards in the corner, and that was pretty good. I know. I know when we did our first game, we had some issues, man. We had computers dying and cell phones dying and feedback and things like that. But we're working on it. And then, as you said, it's for what you're paying for. So all our games right now are free. So the only way we can put those games on is people that are sponsoring us. So big shout out to all those guys that sponsor us. We put them up on the screen at least once a game, and we could not do what we're trying to do this year without that. So,
amen.
Yeah, we'll work on that. But I have this week. I did put in my column the games that you covered and links to them. I put in the columns the games that I covered. I was doing. And I get different feedback. A lot of people don't like it, but I do a little audio clip, and that seems to work pretty good for me as long as I can put some pictures and some videos from the Twitter site. It's just quick, and I'm not as good as writer as you, and it just takes me a little bit longer to get in there. So the other thing that we're doing this year is we have some pictures from Lee Vivian. He's been doing some shots for us again. And I'm trying to. He likes to get out once a week. So as long as we can get access to the gym, we should have some decent pictures. I went to the Catholic game, Andy, and I was sitting there with John Walk, and we were talking about the game. And the game got kind of out of hand. I just got my camera out, and I'm like, click, 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 click. I got home. I must have taken 100 pictures, and I had one that wasn't blurry. And I'm like, what the heck? So, I'm looking at my equipment. It's like, the lens says manual focus and not auto focus. So I'm sure my boys, Mark P and Lee, would probably get a crack out of that. So, it's hard. It's hard doing a lot of that stuff, like the guys for the Lidditz paper and the guys sometimes for Lebanon paper, they do 2 or 3 things. And, sometimes it's a little challenging. So. Any other feedback you got this week? Anything you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I think we pretty well nailed everything, I think. It's just the other thing, and I already kind of touched on this, just be prepared to see some weird scores this year. That's just going to be the way things go. Teams will lose by 40 and then go on the road and beat the team who maybe will win the section, and then they lose by 15 the next time out at home. So it's just going to be, it's going to be wonky. It's going to be weird. I still think though, it's like anything else. The cream's going to rise to the top eventually, weird scores aside. I think probably the teams that we figure are going to be at the top will finish near the top. I really do. That would be my main takeaway from what I saw this week. Just the weird scores. It's going to be a fact of life because, again, no one's really going to be able to get that consistent buildup of anything. I mean, take a Calico, for example. They play. We're talking about a truncated season, and oh my God, how many games can we get in? How many games can we get in? They had a 7-day layoff right out of the gate. So, they only played 2 games. Other teams have played how many? 5, 6? So everybody's totally off balance, and that's going to be another thing to factor in too. So it's going to be weird. You already touched on it too for this week coming up. I think our live stream schedule, God willing, we knocked it out of the park for matchups. I just said I think possibly the 2 top teams in Section 1 on Wednesday night over at Landisville. I haven't been shy on what I think of Calico. I think they're really good. Obviously, LS, as you said, they have the vice grip on that section. What do they do going on the road to Calico? I don't know. Granted, road games are really not road games anymore. Like you said, you're playing at Nook with different colored floors every night, basically. And then the other game, too, on Friday night was Section 2, Lebanon and Warwick. I said, I think Warwick is obviously the odds-on favorite. I still think that way, but I also said I think Lebanon can easily take one from them in this series. So first game up on Friday night, we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I mean, it's
Well, I think the cool thing is we're in 3 different gyms this week too. So each gym will be a different view, a different angle. I know we have some equipment that's been back ordered for 2 months. So our production's not going to be quite what I want it to be. Hopefully we'll get that done and up and running by hopefully by LL time. So, hey, this week, I know that there's some discussion going on about the LLs and what the plan is. So maybe next week, when we come on next week, we'll have the opportunity to see what the game plan is. And hopefully I know we'll be there if we're allowed to cover, and hopefully we can live stream for the 3rd year in a row. So it's all good, Andy. We'll get out again this week. I'm planning on being out Monday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. So I'm sure you'll be out a couple days, and you know, we're following the Twitter and things are going pretty good here at the site. I mean, I haven't gotten any negative comments. Of course, the one thing I got to say on the website is all comments come from Del Boy before they go live out onto the stream. So, you know, if it's like, Del, your hair doesn't look too good, or, you know, that call sucked, it's like, it's not getting on the website. So I know we were worried about that 3 or 4 years ago when we put the comments on, but it hasn't been an issue. Everything's pretty positive. So, hey, have a good week. Nebraska not playing, so maybe you get some more LL in this week.
what I said. I got nothing else going on.
Attaboy. Well, between you and me, there's not much better than watching an LL basketball game. So, hey, thanks to Coach Berryman. We're going to try to get some different guys on. You know, I have a couple that I'd like to really get on, and I've been pushing them, but we got a couple that haven't been on with us. And I think what we'll do, the original plans was for me to get a coach that maybe we covered during the week. And this week we did have LS on, but I think we just need some different coaches and give us you know, what's going on with their program. And I think that's a good spot too.
Yep, I agree.
All right, my man. Have a good week. And
all right,
we'll get after it next Sunday.
Yeah, we will.
All right. Good night, buddy. Yeah, man. Good night. Good night.